I wrote a lot of reviews about Willow. I wrote, I think, an episodic review for each episode of season one. I wrote an overall review of the show once it was finished. I wrote some other think pieces about it, mainly focusing on the things that I disliked about it, because mostly I thought it was quite terrible. And terrible with a lot of sort of unforced errors. Like, it wasn't just like bad, it was like they did things that had no business for in a Willow show, like putting rock music in scenes, not just in the credits, but in actual scenes in the show, is really a strange choice for a fantasy show. Maybe if it had been like its own unique thing that wasn't associated with Willow, the movie, which had a beautiful soundtrack score, maybe it wouldn't bother me so much. I mean, you can do that. You can have like more modern stuff. Like I'm never bothered by the way people talk in like Vox Machina, even though they have a lot of dick jokes and stuff, because it's kind of its own thing. They're doing what the campaign, the Critical Role campaign does. But this didn't feel like Willow. Some of the costume choices were just downright bizarre, and a lot of the dialogue was really bad. And then the whole focus on it being like a teenage, sort of a teenage dramedy. I don't know. The target audience was just like all over the place. I have no idea why they would make a reboot of Willow and have a totally new target audience rather than Willow fans. And it was clearly not geared at the same people who love the movie. And if you're doing a reboot, you should tap into the magic of the original so that you can tap into the fan base that's going to spread it, and make people come along for the ride. Like, this is basic stuff that we've, Anyways, I covered it a lot. I covered it probably more than a lot of journalists who maybe watched the first couple episodes and then bailed. And when it had its better moments, I said so. And I always had some of my favorite, characters like Borman. I really enjoyed him. I liked Delora Dannon and the actor that they got to play her. I don't like how they handled her story or made her like a scullery maid. I just didn't like a lot of it. I thought they had a lot of. I made a whole video about what I would have done differently, working within sort of the same framework rather than like what would I do with a whole brand new Willow show, but kind of working with the same framework. And it really, just a lot of it boils down to I wouldn't have had a show that had like 5 teenage, early 20s characters that were all basically the same. You didn't need like 3 like chicks that were the same age, all with different hair colors. Like, that's just so strange to me. Like, the original Willow, they had Willow and Matt Mardigan. They were the main, adventurers for a long time before anybody else joined the group. And the Brownies, of course, but they, as far as people were, but again, like Willow, the Brownies, and Matt Mardigan were all very different. And in this show, it was like everyone was so similar. And so you have more diversity, but that diversity kind of goes out the window when it's like all the characters are the same. But anyways, I am here to talk about Twitter drama. One of the writers, this John Bickerstaff. Sorry. He recently talked about how he was pissed off at Disney for basically vaulting Willow. It's only been out for a few months, and it's already being disappeared from Disney+. I wrote an article that I published this morning, or a blog post, a glorified blog post, titled, "It's Your Last Chance to See How Bad the New Disney Plus Willow Show Is Before It's Gone for Good." And it's a bit of a grave dancing post. Like, I'm saying, this show's really bad, and no one's gonna be able to watch it on Friday. It's gone. It's gone forever. So you better go check it out and see for yourself how awful this horrendous show is. And people are really mad. And this writer tweeted my article, "Hey Forbes, get fucked." Super professional guy. I quote tweeted him and said, "Write a better show next time and maybe it won't get canceled." I don't know. What do you say to something like that? I, as a TV critic, am supposed to write stuff like this. Now look, I wouldn't normally grave dance like this. I wouldn't. If, like when, I don't think Westworld has been very good for a long time, but when it was taken off of HBO, I found that to be a huge shame because at least the first season is still really good. I don't love the direction a lot of this stuff is going with streaming. But it's kind of the reality of the business at this point that a lot of these companies overextended themselves in the streaming market, and now they're having to dial back. And it sucks. It really does. It genuinely sucks. But on the other hand, so does Willow. Willow genuinely sucks. And actually, like, I take it personally. A lot of times I don't take these things personally. I'll write the show review based on, but I have some bias here. I'm not gonna lie. I love the movie Willow. And I think that a show based on that movie should be faithful to it. And it's not. Maybe they thought they were being faithful to it. Maybe they tried and they failed. Whatever. But the show, it spits in the face of that movie, and it even has Warwick Davis involved. But it lacks the magic, and it lacks what made that movie so great. And it does something totally different, and it feels like a lot of stuff was just sort of ham-fisted in there. Like, yeah, I did mention that I think they prioritized political agenda over telling a good story. And that's not because there's a lesbian romance in there. I think it's totally fine to have lesbian romances in your shows. Like, again, I've said wonderful things about Yellow Jackets and or both those shows have lesbian romances. Lots of shows that I like have queer stuff in them. I'm totally fine with that. But it should feel organic. It should feel like that's part of the story for a reason. Just like any romance should. I don't like superfluous romances that just feel like they've been ham-fisted in a show in the first place. But the one in Willow just felt like they included those characters just to have a lesbian romance. And I mean, seriously, like, why not just make Alora a lesbian and have her fall in love with, I mean, I don't get it. It just felt very ham-fisted. And I don't like being preached to, and I don't like it when shows include things that they're trying to push a political message, whatever that message is. I don't care. I wouldn't like it if it was some right-winger message either. But people always try to make me out to be this, like, slavering right-winger when I am not, by the way, if you haven't noticed. Yeah, me and my calls for universal health care and my support of the writers' strike and all of my, all my politics so right wing. Anyways, so it's crazy though, because here's what's really crazy. There's 104 retweets, 42 quotes, 1,700 likes, and like a bazillion replies to this tweet telling me basically to get fucked. I didn't know that many people even watched this show. I didn't know. I mean, you go to the Reddit for the show and it was like nobody was there. It was like a graveyard from like episode 3 on. And like the show had no buzz. And people are like, how dare you, criticize the writers? It's management's fault. Well, I'm sorry. I am no fan of Disney as a company, but they also produced Andor. That's a pretty fucking good show, and the writers of that show managed to make a great show, so I don't think it's just Disney to blame, although I do think they are partly to blame. I think the buck stops there, right? They should have ensured that this show was better before sending it out into the world. Whoever was approving these choices, within at the corporate level, shouldn't have. And whoever was making the decisions in the writers' room, on the production floor, whatever, they should have known better. They should have done a better job. It's not a good show. It was canceled, and now it's being disappeared because it was not a good show. I don't know if you liked it. Great, good for you. I can't help that you have shitty taste, but you shouldn't take it personally that I didn't. My opinion is based on my personal beliefs and my personal tastes. And I loved the film, and I just wish this had been a show that was not associated with it at all, because it would maybe work as its own thing, but it's not Willow. It's just not. And you're welcome to go watch the movie and then watch the show. Well, you won't be able to watch the show for long, but they are not alike. The presence of Warwick Davis does not make them at all alike, and one is better than the other. Oh, so a little bit of drama there for today. Yeah, thanks for watching. Peace.